to some of the things that people here are thinking about. This is the story of the Berkeley Institute for Data Science, BIDS, which picks up from obviously the fact that there's a huge amount going on at Berkeley, as at most universities nowadays, in the data science uses for many, many different fields of science and also social science, for that matter. And so all sorts of fun projects that you hear about, very similar to Josh was talking just heard. And the Moore Foundation and Sloan Foundation approached us, as well as about I think 16 other universities, and asked, is there something that could be done that would bring together this sort of work that's going on at the universities and may move things forward in several different ways. I'll describe what those ways might be. We then, at Berkeley, pulled together a few workshops. Our first workshop on 3 days' notice was scheduled at Saturday at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I think 75, 80 people showed up, and it was just a room full of buzz as people were really enjoying getting to meet each other across the university, who've been working on completely fields where data science was highly relevant, and we ended up putting together one of these great huge post-it charts full of ideas of what we might want to do if we start to work together and took advantage of this more Sloan opportunity. And over the course of the next 3 months, we ended up putting in a presentation of what we had, and the Moore and Sloan Foundations ended up choosing 3 of the 16 universities, and so it ends up being Berkeley, NYU, and UW that are moving ahead with these institutes. Now I think I'll try to describe to you what we're thinking about at Berkeley, but some of these things are also things that we hope that we'll be doing with the partners at the other 2 universities. But I see this as actually just starting something at Berkeley, which we imagine is going to be even larger than just this Moore and Sloan effort, and I believe want to be very relevant to the rest of the California community that would be interested in these topics. So first, we ended up choosing a location that was tried to be as central as possible to all these highlighted buildings, which all have data science going on in them in some extent, and of course also up here at the lab. And the most central building is, not surprisingly, the main library building, the Joe Library, and we were able to we offered one of the main reading rooms to take over just on the first entrance floor, and it's now being redesigned, and we're rebuilding the insides for the purpose of having a location that people can come to from all around the university and from all the departments. We're imagining they'll be spending time there and spending time back at the department, and it'll be a home for people to get together and to integrate these ideas. The initial group of faculty that developed this together was from all across the university. You'll see department topics that are very much in the science domain. So Josh was a leader here, and it was for policy, social science, brain imaging, political science, and bioengineering, proverbial. But there's also the methodology techniques, so the ECS, that's Structural Engineering Computer Science. So this is the computer scientist. Some of you may know, and as well as the information scientist, like library was interested, statistics, mathematics, applied math. So it's become it's certainly a place where you want to bridge those different approaches that are all obviously needed in the when you ask scientific questions using data science. The issues, of course, of trying to bring together all of these different techniques in an interesting way, there are many different ways you can ask the question. And of course, traditionally, people can ask the question in terms of how much speed can we get out of our computers. How many megaflops can we do, or bigger can we bring to the table? How much memory? How much storage? And people thought that as big data, was sort of the driving question for many of the many years in this kind of thing with big computing. But I think we were starting to think of it in a slightly different way, because we started to feel like you could argue that in principle we have the computing power, and we have many of these different other elements in place, the math techniques, the database approaches, and you might ask, well, what else is even more missing than those? Our sense is that those, that there's a lot of actions to be remain obvious, is this problem that we are not very good at building on each other's work in the sciences with respect to the data science side of the efforts. So today, any project is likely to bring in new sets of students, new sets of postdocs. They write code. It often reinvents what somebody else has done previously. Sometimes they do better. Sometimes they do worse. They are rushing as fast as possible to reach their thesis, their conference paper, their presentation, and rarely do they set them up in a way that can be used by the next student in the group, let alone other people in neighboring fields or other people in different fields. And it would really make a huge difference if you could figure out a way to make it possible to not only contribute and maintain code that can be useful for larger communities, but also to find what's the best available code algorithm approach that's already been developed. So that you aren't reinventing things as frequently as currently happens. And of course that should include, as you say, that should include what's out there in, as far away from academia as industry, where there are many ideas that are moving ahead and we're often finding out about them rather late. So some of the things that are obvious if you've been around the academic world, that it's very difficult for people who fall in between disciplinary tracks to move ahead in the academic world. So somebody who is seen as a the key person in an astronomy project who happens to be too good on the computer may not be able to get a job because they get a traditional academic job because they're seen, well, they should go into the computer science department. The computer scientist looks at them and says, well, they're not computer scientists, they're doing astronomy. And this is replicated all over the university in many different areas, and we see that as a fair opportunity, that we should be able to figure out ways to turn this into a win. And Berkeley is one of these places, and there are others that really pride themselves on being able to address these interdisciplinary holes, and we want to try and do that again in this area. Obviously, there's a big missing component of the data science training. When you look to see who are you trying to find for your research groups, either undergraduate interns or grad students who you might take on for your projects. Very often the questions you ask them have a huge amount to do with data science, much more than how they're doing in their courses in the field. And we would like that to be almost a given. In fact, everybody should be able to drive a data science training as automatically as they can drive a car. That's what you would like to be able to assume for all the students coming in that you might want to work with. And also it allows students to have much more room to jump into research at much earlier stages, since there's so much that can be done if you're proficient with the data science side of the field in almost any field of science. There's some slightly less obvious things. I don't know whether other people have felt this as strongly as I have, but I definitely have the sense that the basic way in which you approach sitting down and doing programming doesn't feel like it's advanced as much as it should have, and that the programming languages and programming environments are still distracting my students, my postdocs, from the science questions I want them to be focusing on, much more than they should. And we should find a way to develop these the worlds in which you do the programming, you do the data science, that are more conducive to keeping your eye on the ball of what the science is you're trying to get done, and making rapid comparisons and the sort of plot you need to do without it becoming a question of learning the programming to do that. You want to be able to bridge what we often identified as the gaps between the interest and needs of the scientist who's trying to get a result out and the interest and needs of the data science methodologist. So you'll often be in a position where you'll be talking to a computer scientist about something that you're trying to get done, and they'll say, oh yes, we solved that problem, and or they're very excited about your problem, and they go off and they solve that problem. But what they consider a solution and what you consider what you actually need to do your work has a huge gap between, and we want to be able to find ways to make that gap populated and make it actually an interesting area of its own right. And then we also thought finally that a lot of the missing things that I'm identifying are the things that you can just holding up scientists when they're trying to get their job done. What really is making it hard for a more senior scientist to be able to get at their data without going to find their grad students, the postdocs. What's making it difficult for the new student coming in to figure out what they need to do in order to get their first paper out? We should actually be watching much, much more closely and studying this, because it could be possible that there are things out there that we aren't even aware of that are slowing people down. And it could be stupid, silly things. Maybe the programming languages are really conducive to misspelling your variables. But I'm assuming that they're more sophisticated things, and I think that we should be open to that possibility, and we should study this as well. There's some really nice potential gains if we get this right, and I think it could be possible to really let people who are much less data science savvy than people in this room, in on the game. And I think there's a lot to enjoy with data if you have a little more access to it, and if you can get parts of the science world and in general the world of academia to be more fluent with data. And I think we can get a lot out of that. And then finally, for university, it's actually a really nice opportunity to get people to talk to each other who haven't always had the opportunity to do so. So we definitely saw it in those Saturday morning events that I described to you, that people actually like the idea that something that they're doing in, let's say, astronomy, could end up helping somebody in the neurosciences, and that they might actually get a chance to work a little bit in a completely unrelated field. Perhaps they'll be able to get to do a little bit of data-driven economics and save the world, in another way than they usually get to do when they're doing astronomy. So I think that is a real win. Okay, astronomy may be an extreme example. So that's a real win for a university, and where it's very easy for people to be off in their own corners and rarely get a chance to actually exchange intellectual ideas. And so this could be a common language and a common need which would allow people to talk together. I'll just leave you with the idea that the way we're thinking about implementing this stuff is that we're trying to bring all these scientists and methodologists together into a series of different working groups that are addressing cultural issues of the space that they can work together, tools and the software environment that I was just talking about, and this training issue, what we do about the boot camp sort of training, but also the general education of what sort of courses would you want to design. These more sociological and career path questions are obviously key if we're going to get this right. And then I was describing some of the mathematical stuff as well. So this is a little bit of a feel of what we've been up to, and I should stop just with a minute or two for any questions. Laura?
Questions for Saul? I have one for Ramon because I'm going to ask first. So the very top thing, the career paths and alternative metrics. Okay, you have this big thing jumped at UC and NYU. What are they doing in their departments, etc., to address this issue? What have they started thinking about right now? Because I will say, and I'm not going to look at anybody in particular here, but I know there's several people in this audience who have been bit by the very fact that they are seen as lying between two fields, and they're great as a scientist, but not viewed by their individual disciplines, either CS-wise or as experts there. They always get, the buck gets passed, oh, they're astronomers, oh, they're CS.
Exactly.
So what?
Yeah, so I think this is, some of these, that we can solve them, or we can start thinking about them ourselves, right? That's easy. Something like the career path one, we've got to be really good at working with the systems that are available. So there's two different directions in the career path that seemed most fertile to approach. One is the obvious one that springs over your mind is, what can we do to get faculty slots that might be a little bit more conducive to this sort of thing? So I know that the other two universities are looking at this as well. I just was having a conversation, in fact, yesterday with one of our vice chancellors about the idea that you might want to put out dates of half FTEs that would be available to departments if they are willing to hire somebody with the other half FTE who is in this domain area. And so that you'd be looking for people then who they wouldn't be able to get that FTE unless they pushed into this slightly, for them, a bit of a stretch from their usual approach. I think the conversation so far, we have a new chancellor chancellor, and here at Berkeley, the previous chancellor was very interested in this idea, and the new chancellor, we were waiting for him to get settled, but we were about to go and start approaching. Our sense is that he's very interested in this whole area and very interested in cross-disciplinary work of this kind, so we think that there's going to be a real opportunity. And the other thing I'll mention is that it's not just the faculty positions. You also want to have the positions sort of like the equivalent of the Space Science Laboratory that we have here at Berkeley, where there's enough of a ongoing structure that there are people who don't want the academic positions, but who want to be able to do other kinds of positions with a long-term career path. And our goal is to have sort of a large enough ongoing sustained funding that there are those positions that can do a whole career as well. So those are the two approaches. Yeah.
Cool.